If you finish people's sentences, if you're already at the conclusion while everyone else is still working through the problem, if your brain solved it 3 steps ago and now you're just waiting for the conversation to catch up, welcome. You're not impatient. You're not arrogant. Your processing speed is just calibrated differently, and what most people call intelligence might actually be something closer to curse than gift. Or maybe you're dealing with someone like this. That coworker who interrupts constantly. That friend who seems frustrated when you're mid-sentence. That partner who finishes your thoughts before you've figured out how to say them. They're not trying to dominate. They're trying to survive a world that moves at half their internal speed. If someone just flashed in your mind, you already know this isn't about being smart. This is about something else entirely. These people aren't fast thinkers because they try harder. They're fast thinkers because their neural pathways fire differently. And while the world celebrates quick thinking in theory, it punishes it brutally in practice. Because nobody likes the person who's already at the conclusion while everyone else is enjoying the journey. They can't slow down in conversations, can't wait patiently while someone finds the word they're searching for, can't sit through explanations of things they understood in the first sentence. And when they try to help by jumping ahead, they're called rude, impatient, condescending. The frustration isn't intellectual, it's temporal. They're living at 1.5 times speed in a 1 times world. Every meeting is torture. Every group discussion is agony. Every casual conversation requires active suppression of the urge to just skip to the end. And here's the uncomfortable part. They're often right. Their predictions pan out. Their shortcuts work. Their impatience is usually justified by how long everyone else takes to arrive at the same conclusion. But being right doesn't make them less exhausting to be around. But here's what no one tells you. Being right doesn't stop you from being alone. And speed doesn't save you from the thing it's quietly destroying. The people around them don't call it efficiency anymore. They call it overwhelming. They stop sharing incomplete thoughts because they'll get solved before they're fully expressed. They stop asking for input because the answer comes with 12 steps they didn't ask for. And the fast thinker, they see all of this and think, why can't people just keep up? Why does everything have to move so slowly? Why am I the problem when I'm just trying to help? So why? Why does someone become like this? What creates a mind that can't match the pace of normal human interaction? It's not that they think faster. It's that they think earlier. By the time you're analyzing the problem, they're already at the solution. Not because they skipped steps, because they compressed them. Because the answer isn't they're just gifted. The answer is more complicated than that. Fast thinking doesn't start with intelligence. It starts with pattern recognition that developed early and never stopped accelerating. Maybe they grew up in an environment where reading the room fast meant safety, where predicting outcomes quickly meant survival, where being 3 steps ahead was the only way to stay in control. Or maybe their brain just processes information faster. Neuroscience calls this processing speed, and it's distinct from intelligence. Some brains simply fire faster, make connections quicker, retrieve information with less lag. It's not about trying harder. It's about hardware running at a different clock speed. But they never developed patience for slower processing. Everything still feels urgent. Every conversation feels like waiting for a web page to load on dial-up. Every group decision feels like watching paint dry. Or maybe it was reinforcement. Every time they jumped ahead and were right, their brain filed that under proof, I need to think faster. Every time they waited and watched others fumble through obvious conclusions, the impatience deepened. So when you're dealing with someone like this is what you're actually dealing with. Not arrogance, not dominance, a nervous system that operates at a different tempo than the world around it. And here's what makes this complicated. They're usually not wrong about how long things take, because they've spent years watching people overcomplicate simple problems, miss obvious solutions, and take the long way to conclusions that were visible from the start. Which brings us to what this costs. Not just them, everyone around them, and eventually, the whole system. Fast thinking means constant prediction. Every conversation, they're running simulations. Where is this going? What will they say next? What's the optimal response? They're 3 moves ahead in a game everyone else is playing 1 move at a time. That person who interrupts constantly, they're not trying to dominate. They're trying to skip the part where you slowly arrive at the point they already see. They think this is helping. It's not. It's exhausting. They can't think strategically about relationships because strategy requires patience. They're tactically brilliant at reading people, predicting behavior, seeing patterns, but strategically blind to how their speed makes others feel incompetent, dismissed, steamroll. People don't leave fast thinkers because they're smart. People leave because there's no space. Every conversation is already over before it starts. Every idea gets optimized before it's fully formed. Every thought gets finished by someone else. The fast thinker thinks people are leaving because they can't handle efficiency. They never see that people are leaving because they were never given room to think at their own pace. You can't build deep relationships at high speed. That entrepreneur who solves every problem in seconds, still struggling to maintain friendships because friendship requires sitting with incomplete thoughts, meandering conversations, slowness. Meanwhile, their slower processing competitor builds loyalty through patience, creates space for others to contribute, and runs a company where people actually want to stay. Fast thinkers optimize for conclusion. They miss the value in the process. They don't take asymmetric bets on people because they've already calculated the person won't work out. They're usually right, but they're also capping their entire life at what they can personally predict. Fast thinking requires constant cognitive load. Their brain never idles, always processing, always connecting, always predicting, and that doesn't stop. They're not tired because they think hard. They're tired because their brain has been running at maximum RPM for 20 consecutive years. There's no coasting. There's no cruise control. Sleep doesn't help because they're processing tomorrow's problems while trying to fall asleep. Vacation doesn't help because they're optimizing the vacation. Rest doesn't help because rest feels like wasted processing power. The body keeps score. The anxiety, the impatience, the constant low-grade frustration that everyone else is moving through molasses. They don't even remember what patient feels like. And here's what makes this vicious. The faster you think, the more you need to think fast. Fast thinking creates environments optimized for speed, and speed-optimized environments punish slowness, which triggers more fast thinking. The loop tightens. Fast thinker won't delegate because explaining takes longer than doing. Team stops thinking independently because their ideas get solved before they're fully expressed. Team becomes passive. Fast thinker now has to think for everyone. Fast thinker burns out. And if you're smart, it gets worse. Because smart fast thinkers are usually right when they jump ahead. So the behavior gets reinforced. They interrupt, they're right, and their brain files that under proof I should keep doing this. They win every conversation. They lose every relationship. But they can't see the relationships they're not building because they're too busy winning arguments in record time. And if you're self-aware about this pattern, there's another trap. You try to slow down your thinking. You practice patience. You force yourself to wait. And what is that? More fast thinking. You're now thinking faster about how to think slower. It's recursive. It's exhausting. You can't think your way out of a processing speed issue. And if you're watching this and thinking, but people actually are too slow, meetings actually are inefficient, I'm just being accurate, that's not a counter-argument. That's the pattern talking. Everyone who operates this way believes their speed is justified, that the world actually should move faster, that their impatience is rational, and they can build an airtight case for it. Which means the real question isn't how do I slow down? The real question is, what am I optimizing for? And is speed actually getting me there? This isn't a thinking problem. It's a target selection problem. You're not thinking too fast. You're thinking fast about the wrong things. Fast thinking itself isn't the enemy. It's a tool. The problem is when you use that tool on things that don't benefit from speed, like relationships, like trust, like creativity, like depth. Every variable in your life falls into one of three categories: things that benefit from speed, problem solving, pattern recognition, crisis response, analysis, processing information. Think fast here. This is your advantage. Things that don't benefit from speed or slowness, small inefficiencies, other people's pace, surface level differences in communication style. Stop optimizing these. This is noise. And things that are damaged by speed, relationships, trust building, creative exploration, deep learning, emotional processing, these require slowness. And trying to speed them up destroys their value. This is the recalibration. Not thinking slower, thinking precisely. If you're exhausted, if your relationships are shallow, if you're solving every problem but building nothing deep, you're spending 80% of your processing power on the third category. You're trying to speed up how fast people understand you, how quickly they make decisions, how long conversations take, whether they get to the point fast enough. And none of that is yours to control. You can communicate clearly. You can create conditions, but you cannot speed up other people's processing. And every cycle you spend trying is a cycle you're not spending where speed actually matters. Here's why slowing down fails. Because it asks you to suppress your processing speed entirely. It asks you to stop being fast without giving you something else to be fast about. And your brain will not do that. Not because you're broken, but because processing speed is hardware, not software. You can't uninstall it. You don't need to think slower. You need better targets. You can't control whether people understand you immediately. You can control how clearly you communicate. You can't control whether meetings move at your pace. You can control whether you're in meetings that actually need your speed. You can't control whether conversations meander. You can control whether you're in conversations worth having slowly. Speed has value in execution. Speed destroys value in connection. Know which one you're doing. You can't control someone's processing speed. You can control who you work with. You can't eliminate wait time. You can build systems that work while you're waiting. Fast is powerful. Fast everywhere is poisonous. List everything you're currently optimizing for speed. Then ask two questions. Does speed actually improve this outcome? Does speed damage this outcome? High speed plus high value. Double down. This is where your processing power pays off. High speed plus low value. Stop. You're burning processing cycles on things that don't matter. Low speed requirement plus high value. This is the danger zone. Relationships, trust, depth, these break when you speed them up. Most of your frustration lives here. You're trying to accelerate things that are designed to be slow. When you feel impatient, stop and ask, which category is this? If it's not top left, redirect. You cannot trust yourself to slow down voluntarily. Build external systems that force patience. When you're in a conversation, set a timer. You cannot speak until 60 seconds after the other person finishes. Your brain will scream, let it. The relationship will survive. You'll learn that connection doesn't collapse when you're not filling every silence. Build waiting periods into decisions. Make it structurally impossible to jump to conclusions. Stop measuring success by speed of resolution. Measure by depth of understanding, by quality of relationship, by durability of solution. Speed compounds in execution. Patience compounds in connection. You can control which one you're building. This is not a weakness. This is a badly allocated strength. The same processing speed that makes you interrupt can make you brilliant at crisis response when redirected. The same pattern recognition that frustrates others can create strategic advantage when applied to systems, not people. The same impatience that ruins relationships can build efficient processes when pointed at operations, not emotions. You don't have to become slow. You can stay fast, analytical, efficient. You just have to aim at the right target. But if you don't recalibrate, you will burn out. Your relationships will stay shallow. Your potential will cap at what you can personally process. This is about pointing the same speed in a different direction, same engine, different destination. Fast thinking is not the problem. Fast thinking about everything is. The only way to stop thinking fast about everything is to think fast about the right things so precisely that the rest becomes irrelevant. Not because you've learned to slow down, but because you've built systems strong enough that slowing down is no longer dangerous. The people who seem most patient aren't thinking slower. They're thinking faster about what actually matters. They've figured out what deserves speed, and they've stopped wasting it on everything else. Now you have the framework. The question is, will you use it? List your variables today. Map them tonight. Start redirecting tomorrow, or stay exhausted forever. Your choice. Subscribe and watch this video next.